Galaxy Eye isn't just a fun tool that you can play around with and show off. You can actually use this while traveling in these 5 ways. Daniel here from SamMobile.com. I've just come back from Europe and I use Galaxy Eye almost all the time when I was over there. So not too long ago, I did a full review on all the Galaxy Eye functions. I spoke about how sort of useful they were in everyday life, and a couple of them I kind of put to the side because I didn't really have the need for them. That wasn't until I traveled. So these 5 Galaxy AI features will be ever so useful if you go overseas away from your home country. Number 1, it's the one I thought I would never use, and that's live translation during the phone calls. I honestly never thought I'd have a use for this. I thought this was something I would never need, and then all of a sudden I needed it. It's a bit of a funny story, but we got locked out of our hotel before we even were able to step in through the door. In Italy, they have these old school elevators, and one of them required a key. Turns out the key got left in the elevator, and then you couldn't get in the elevator. Long story short, we needed to get that key out of there. So we were calling people on the door, on the building, to try and figure out what we could do. Of course, we're in Italy, so everyone we spoke to spoke Italian. So brain switched on and realized I could use live translation to actually communicate to people in Italy through phone calls. And it worked brilliantly. I didn't get in the elevator, not that way anyways. Fortunately, someone came and let us in. But we were able to talk to people and find out the next avenue, the next way we could try, or if they couldn't help us, they were able to let us know. It worked really well and got me out of a jam and meant I could communicate. So that's definitely one you will be using overseas. If you travel from the country you're in to the country you're going to, it works on device too. So you don't necessarily need to have a cloud or internet connection. You can just need a network connection to call and it will work. It was really useful. Number 2, again, another one I never thought I'd be using, but it's the keyboard translation. Same hotel, same situation. I actually needed to talk to the host of the accommodation through WhatsApp, and WhatsApp supports Samsung's keyboard translation service. So I was able to easily communicate with him, typing in English, automatically translated to Italian, and when they send messages back in Italian, automatically translated to me in English. Fantastic. Took away all of the anxiety about communicating in a foreign country and meant that I could easily get myself out or communicate myself out of the problem that we were in. Again, that didn't help us in the end. We got let in through other guests in the hotel that had a key, although it took a while. But my purpose of saying this is that function while traveling was so good to have. And having it all be language packs on the device was so beneficial. And again, just gives you that peace of mind that you can communicate confidently without the need to be constantly going back and forth to Google Translate. It's all done on the keyboard. Number 3 is Samsung's interpreter app. I've spoken about how you can communicate through phone calls. I've spoken about how you can communicate through messages, but in-person communication can be equally, if not more, anxiety-driven because there's a huge barrier. The interpreter app on the phone meant it was just so much easier. And again, it's all to do with the language packs that are downloaded on the phone, and you don't have to stress about not having internet. Especially when roaming, you don't normally get the best internet connection. So having it all on the phone and being done through the phone was such a good peace of mind to have. I used it in Portugal. I used it in Italy extensively, and it just meant it was a lot easier to say what I wanted to say because then it communicated out the other end exactly the way they needed to hear it. Also liked it too because if I wanted to sort of learn how to say something, I could speak it into the phone. It would give me how to say it, and then I could communicate it if I wanted to as well. So there's a couple of different avenues. You can use the interpreter app to communicate directly, or if you wanted to learn some phrases, you could do it that way as well. Have a listen to how it works. And if you're Italian, let me know if the translation checks out. Excuse me, how much is it for that carbonara?
Scusatemi, quanto costa quella carbonara?
Number 4 is Samsung's internet translation service. Again, this was so good to have, especially when I traveled by public transport, on trains or buses, booking tickets. All their websites are, of course, in Italian. It was so great to have the translation function built into Samsung's internet because it just overlaid directly over the top, stayed the same with formatting, and meant I could just read that website confidently and book the tickets without any fuss. Super beneficial, meant we could travel in comfort and style very, very easily without any hassle. Flip side to that too is if you wanted to read news articles from something that happened in that country. For example, at the Taylor Swift concert we went to, there was massive issues with lines being held up and just complete chaos trying to get in. So we could read news articles in Lisbon and Portugal in English because we could then translate it and then understand what actually went wrong. Really good. And number 5, you might not think is relevant to traveling, but it's generative edit. The reason why it's so relevant is because when you do take family photos overseas, you will likely get stuff that pops up in the background of the photo that potentially ruins it. So having generative edit, and you can see with the examples I'm showing now, the ability to remove things from the background of photos using that function means that you can keep your photo clean. I did it twice when I was overseas on the spot, and I've since revisited some and identified some I'd like to use it with. For example, this one in Portugal, there was a family photo we took by the beachside that we wanted to remove the background people using Galaxy AI, able to do it no fuss, and I replaced it with pretty much what I wanted to see instead. Other one was in Syracuse. We went to a nice beach. It was a compact beach. There was lots of people in the foreground. I wanted to make it look like we had the beach sort of all to ourselves. And using Galaxy AI, I was able to remove the people that were in the foreground and make it look semi-private. It did such a good job at recreating that foreground that it did make it look like it was our private beach. So they are my 5 Galaxy AI tips for traveling. If you have any that you think you could use while traveling as well, pop them in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe. Plenty more to come. 10th of July is not far away. So if you want to reserve your next Galaxy device, use the link in the description. See you next time. Thanks.